Let's talk about the disturbing story about the Solomon Islands and this security deal with the Chinese government. Did we drop the ball here?
Well, look, I tell you what, Peter, I think where we've dropped the ball is our complete failure to produce any relevant defence capability. The Chinese are now likely to have a military base within 2,000 kilometres of the Australian shore, and we have no missiles, for example. I mean, we could have missiles stationed all around the Australian coast with a range of 2,000 kilometres, which would dominate our maritime approaches, but instead we're sleepwalking to disaster in our military budget. Did we drop the ball with Solomon Islands? Well, it's certainly a failure of Australian policy, absolutely. I mean, only last year we rescued this guy from riots which were anti-Chinese and were going to topple him from government. Nonetheless, you can't imagine an Australian government declining to provide assistance to a Pacific Island nation in crisis. But China is a very determined, very wealthy, very skillful superpower, absolutely determined to get military bases in our region. Obviously, we need to do everything we can within our region to deny them that. It's quite shocking, for example, that we weren't able to convince the Americans to have an embassy in Solomon Islands. You think of all the blood that Americans spilt taking Guadalcanal from the Japanese, and the strategic equation is the same, cutting Australia off from the United States, inhibiting the movement of American military, threatening Australia. The Chinese want the base for the same reason that the Japanese had it. And so there are a lot of elements of Australian policy that's suboptimal. On the other hand, Sogavare is a very, individualistic, very particular kind of person, and very hard to control. But I'm more concerned that we're still going to pursue the same antiquated Gilbert and Sullivan Defence Force structure as if none of this ever happened, as if Russia hadn't invaded Ukraine, China hasn't done anything in the Solomon Islands. Our Fort Fumble is still going to give us the same Defence Force it designed 60 years ago, absolutely impervious to any of this. I certainly hope we donate our heavy armour and tanks to Ukraine, because they do more good there than they're ever going to do for Australia.